Hello, good afternoon. It's coming up to 12:30 on Thursday the 1st of July and I'm off wild camping overnight on my trusty steed, my caribou. Here we are, this is my main winter bike and my summer touring bike, Steel Caribou. It's a hybrid 26-inch wheel, straight handlebars, rear and front racks. You may spot I've got some brand shiny new panniers. I'll explain more about that later on. I'm still using the old panniers. They're both made by Paradise, front and rear. My wife's been and bought me a matching pair of these for the front for Christmas, but the back ones really needed replacing, the front not so urgently, so that explains that. I've said it before, I don't really do kit reviews, and also this is the first outing, so it's far too early really to give it an objective overview, but I'll just run through quickly when I get to camp why I bought them and the points I like about them. I've just climbed up over Bloomfield Road. It runs parallel to Wells Way and the Foss Way, which I rode recently. It's a couple of 100 yards over there. This is a much quieter lane. Kilkenny Lane takes me out of Bath down towards Porton. My destination tonight is Brean Down, hopefully, as long as I don't get kicked off. There's a Victorian fort there, referred to as one of the Palmerston follies, and it's also got some Roman significance as well. I'll explain more when I get there and why I've chosen this. So I'm heading this way out through Porton. I'll be climbing up over the Mendips near Harptree, dropping down towards the outskirts of Weston-super-Mare, and then there's some off-road. It's a sustrans route. It's quite gravelly that takes you across some levels into the back of Brean, which is quite a popular holiday resort. The road goes up to Brean Down, which is a no-through road, and then I only realised recently through Terry Hilbert, thanks mate, you can actually cycle up there. I'd always walked up there before at really steep steps, so I didn't realise it was rideable. A few hundred yards further on along Kilkenny Lane, overlooking Newton Park College and the A39, heading this way. I meant to add at the beginning, I'm cooking steak tonight as well. I've got some salad to go with it, some chocolate puddings and some cider, hoping that's going to really hit the spot at my cliff top camp looking out to sea. People who followed me recently through the spring will know this year I've been experimenting with MREs camping, meals ready to eat. They're basically army ration packs. And I've been very pleased with them and the experiments worked, and I will use them again, but tonight it's going to be really nice getting back to some fresh cooking with my trusted frying pan. It's now 2:20 and I'm climbing up towards Hinton Blewett. This is through Camely. Lovely 12th century church here, look at that. It's turned out into a lovely sunny afternoon. It's quite a steep climb up onto Hinton Blewett Common. There's a little green there and seems to be like roads running off in all directions, and I'll be turning off right towards Prospect Star. I'll stop and talk to you there, there's some really good views. Coming into Hinton Blewett with its many roads and attractive green. And of course the Ring of Bells pub, which is a favourite with cyclists, especially of an evening as well. Great beer garden. Round to the right and Prospect Star. Now we're at Prospect Star. I've just come in that way from Hinton Blewett. I'm just about to plunge down a steep hill. And this is Prospect Star. I've been coming here for years. In fact, this seating area and board, information board, was never here. Not for many years. I've always fancied camping here, and there used to be like a fairly flattish ledge which I eyed up. Of course this is where the picnic site is. I sometimes wonder if it's possible to get down there, but then you wouldn't have this great view. So it's probably not going to happen, but I nearly always stop and just spend a few minutes staring at, while I sit here at Prospect Star and just wonder at this view. I'll tell you a little bit about tonight's camp. About this time last year, I got the train and the bus over to Sand Point near Weston-super-Mare, north of Weston-super-Mare actually, and it's at the upper edge of Weston-super-Mare Bay. It's one headland, and then further south of Weston-super-Mare, near Burnham-on-Sea, is a much bigger headland, Brean Down, which is where I'm heading tonight. I'll put a map on the screen now, you'll get an idea of the geography. Sand Point last year was at the north, Brean Down today is at the south. In the 1860s then, there were a series of forts built around the coastline of Britain to protect strategic interests, ports mainly, from possible French attack and invasion. And they're named the Palmerston Follies because Palmerston was the Prime Minister at the time, and he had argued strongly for them to be built, although they were very expensive at the time, so there's a lot of opposition. And of course, within 20 or 30 years, they were almost obsolete because Britain and France became allies. So they're often referred to as Palmerston's Follies, although this particular one, Brean Down, was refortified in 1940, and it was actually used to protect against possible German invasion or incursion of ships up the Bristol Channel. There's also a Roman connection up there. It said there was a Roman temple up there, and even a smelt which made gold coins. Just done about a quarter of a mile of rough stuff along here, and it's brought you out in this little car parking area. Then I'll be getting a tarmac there. I could have come down the tarmac road this way, but I quite fancied the rough stuff, to be honest. A fairly good way, I think, to imagine Brean Down is you can see the very clear line of the Mendips going along there, and then it'll drop down towards the coast, and as it dropped down at Brean, it almost rises again and then drops into the sea. And then out at sea, heading over towards Cardiff, you get Steep Pond, which is like a little lump. It looks like a mouse almost. And I always think that's all part of the same geological line. Yet more gravel track. I've just come up a really steep hill, and now there's slightly treacherous descent. I'm taking this quite gingerly. It's quite a good view of Weston-super-Mare there in the haze. The first view of our destination, Brean Down, right in front of us. I've just come in on a really straight road. In fact, it's actually called Roman Road. So that's where we're heading. That headland that goes right up and then drops down into the Bristol Channel facing South Wales. Another section of bridleway, very rideable, about half a mile, and now I think I'm on the Sustrun tracks into the back of Brean. Although this is off-road and gravel, I think it's pretty good road surface, so a few miles that way. Need to try and pick up some water. I've got a foldable water bag, so I'm going to try and go for some tap water. If not, I'll go to a shop and buy some bottled water. The Sustrun track brings you in all around the back of these caravans, so it's actually quite scenic in places over the levels. I actually popped in one of them, saw a water tap and filled my water bag up, so I don't have to worry about water. I wouldn't mind the shop to just get a couple of bars of chocolate for later on and maybe some biscuits, but to be honest, I'm fine. There's me Field and Trek water bag, folds up very small and large capacity water. I'm not sure what it is exactly, and just hang it on with some bungee straps through the handles. So sorted, really, mostly sorted. Head on this way, get to the seafront, turn right as far as you can go, and then literally zigzag up on the Brean Down. 6:15 up here, end of the road. This is the Brean Down headland sticking out. I'll try not to go too far as I go into the sun. That's why I'm heading over there. When I've been before, we'd always parked here and walked up those steps, but I gather there's some tracks that go up. In fact, I can see one there. Whether that's my track, I don't know. I literally am just following the Garmin now. Apologies for any wind noise. I'm right up at the V, like a hairpin turn, and my Garmin says 1.2 miles to go. And I don't think I particularly went right to the very end. So it's longer than I thought, to be honest, longer than I remember. So you can see, looking back, it's quite spectacular. Really looking forward to getting along there now. I'm going to see if I can ride this along here. That was, for me, that at 61 on a fully laden touring bike, that was definitely a walking hill. It's 20 to 7, I'm here. I've just come along this track here. That's looking out towards Weston-super-Mare. And here's the old Victorian fort, Palmerston Forts. There are newer buildings here as well. As I referred to earlier on, it was reused in the Second World War. I'm going to have to try and find some shelter. You can probably tell by the sound that it's quite windy here. I've had to come back about 100 yards or so from the fort and drop down on the leeward side. As you can see, it's quite windswept up there. There's plenty of places to camp, but the wind made the choice of it quite difficult. Just before I set up, a quick bit about the kit that I'm using. I'm laying it all out here in preparation. I've got my old Storm Shield tent. It's a real cheap and cheerful one from Millets. I've had it for years, and the reason I bought it tonight was because it's a lighter green. It's a little bit more stealthy because I wasn't sure who was going to be about tonight, and it also erects and takes down very, very quickly. I've started to put it in these stuff bags. You can compress it really small, and ever since I started using this FE active chair, I've noticed this canvas bag is absolutely ideal for just putting the poles in, even the legs for the table. So I've got my pegs and my tent poles in there. There's so much room in the canvas bag, I think, well, why not utilise it? And it just makes pack sizes so much better. It's 20 past 7 now. I've got the tent up. Before I get all my bed and everything made up, I'm just going to season my steak. So I made some seasoning at home yesterday, and I've got some tissues. I'm just going to absorb all the blood and the juice from the steak, then spray it in a bit of oil and season it for about an hour. Now I'm just going to season it. Got this spray on oil. And this seasoning I made at home last night. It's a mixture of cumin, paprika, onion, salt, black pepper, and there's some herbs in it as well. Rosemary, thyme, I think there might be some oregano as well. Can't remember the exact, but that's what it looks like. Oh my gosh, that smells amazing. I'm going to put it back in its little bag. I don't want any seagulls, any vultures or anyone sort of in my meat away. There you go, put it in there. Dust off that. As usual when handling fresh meat, have some antiseptic wipes. And some hand gel. I think people are probably used to that for other reasons these days. That's my camp set up then. Probably going to leave the panniers on the bike tonight. I'll probably put it down on the ground and do my usual, put a lock through one of the wheels and put a guide rope through one of them. Got my table and chair. Probably going to do a lot of the cooking on there. Got all the bed made up. It's definitely on a bit of a slope. I mean, if I want a flat surface, there's one there, but I think that would be okay. Like I said, you can see the wind catching the grass there. This is just a nice little shelter here. It's not 100% draft free, but it's much better than anything else I could find. But wow, look at this view looking across the Weston-super-Mare. You can really see the Ferris wheel there. Then Cewstoke Woods all behind. The Burnbeck Pier, that's the disused one, and then behind that, Sand Point. Hope that's not too out of focus. Time for a cider. Thatcher's Gold. know I don't drink out of cans. I'll drink lager out of bottles, but I never drink beer out of cans. Or cider. Cheers, good health. Oh gosh, if you could bottle Somerset, this is it. It's got this sunflower spray oil and my trusty frying pan. The handle broke off about a year ago. I'm so attached to this, I just use my old Trangia handle on it. It fits perfectly. Give this a good dollop of sunflower oil. I've gone through this phase before. You just have to prime the stove by feeding through some petrol into a little bowl at the bottom, switching the fuel pipe off and just letting it pressurise. It heats up the fuel pipe and vaporises liquid petrol into a gas. You'll start hearing it hiss shortly. There you go, primed. My steak frying away. I like them quite rare, so it'll be about 2 to 3 minutes each side. There's my steak ready. Steak with fresh salad. Got these lovely baby tomatoes. Wow. Don't have a steak knife, but I do have my camping knife. And as well as the usual camping cutlery. Bon appetit, looking forward to this. That's looking back at my campsite from the cliff edge. You can see this morning the tide's out. There's a lot of rocks down there. That was right in crashing against these last night. You can see like a lot of brown mud being stirred up there, and some the tops of some waves, the white foam, and there must be quite a strong undercurrent there. But it looks actually quite calm this morning. Last night I just kept thinking, gosh, if you fell into that you wouldn't survive 5 minutes. And then during the night I just woke up at one point thinking, gosh, if part of this cliff was to suddenly crack and disappear in the sea, I wouldn't stand a chance. Your mind does that, I think, sometimes when you're wild camping. You can see though there's a bit of a fold in the hill there, and I used the bank there, just that little dip to get some shelter. The tent looks at quite a slope. I was surprised about how flat it was. Western-super-Mare is just covered in complete haze. I can only just make out the Grand Pier in front of me. You can see Burnbeck Pier, but even that's in haze, and then beyond that's really sticking out is Sand Point, where I was last year. So two fantastic camps on the North Somerset coast. I've just brought my chair and a cup of coffee over to this cliff top flat area of grass, and just been sat here really chilling out and enjoying the moment. And as I was looking up at the fort, you can see the diagonally layered rock going up, and then there's that thin layer of sediment and grass on top, and you can see how they've built the barracks and the fort along a flattened part of the cliff, and then there's that one bit on the corner they've actually had to build out and then slope it down, so there's an overhanging effect. Gosh, I'm not sure if I'd want to sleep out there. I don't even know if that's part of the barracks. That's pretty impressive. 140, 150 years old. As I was saying last night, I started thinking in the tent, gosh, if this cliff was to crack, I'd be swept straight in the sea. You imagine sleeping right on the corner of that building. Another point of interest about Brean Down was it said there was a Roman temple up here. I don't know where, but I'm looking at those views out to sea across to Wales. I can imagine it'd be a place for spiritual contemplation. I also read there was a Roman smelt up here. They forged gold coins as well. In fact, I think one of the reasons for the Roman invasion was for the commodities and precious metals. It's about 10 to 11 in the morning now. Another late start. There's where I was. Absolutely no trace apart from my rubbish bag, which I'll be attaching to the bike soon. I'm actually going to walk back to the fort because I noticed somebody had wedged a beer can into the fence up there. I don't know who did it, I don't really care that much, but because I'm taking rubbish out of there, I might as well go and pick up somebody else's. I've already picked up a bottle top here. Again, I don't know if that's deliberate or not, probably just an oversight, but I'm happy to pick up other people's rubbish. Anyway, I'll be heading up that way and then snaking up that way where the top of the steps are, then one last wander down the fort, then heading back that way along the gravel track, 1.2 miles. Bang on 11 AM, I'm just about to set off. That's looking back down at my camp. Came up this track here. One final visit to the fort. Did a little bit of litter picking actually, cut the big plastic bottles and that beer can. And I'm going to be heading off that way. It's been a fantastic overnight camp. Since I got back from the Frostway, I have done one 200-kilometre ride. I'm not riding them as official DIYs these days. My aim now is just to do a 2, 3, 400 and 600 every year, just to 4 DIYs. Any other distances I do, I'll just ride them for fun. I'll base them on old axes. I'd work out the time allowances and try and stick with those, but they're not official. I've already done the 2, 3 and 4, so I'm now trying to build up my endurance again for a 600 sometime later this month or sometime in August. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time.